Hey, thanks for checking out the first episode of I Already Know, presented by TommyGunTheBaby.blogspot.com. You know when you go to the movies and you have to sit through about 15 minutes of movie trailers, and most of them you see and you're like, oh, that looks alright, or oh, that looks really good. But there's usually that one you see that you're like, I will never see that movie. It looks like the worst thing I've ever seen. Pretty much every time I go to the movie theater, I can usually see one of those. So I wanted to do a movie review without actually seeing the movie because I already know it's going to be terrible. The first film up in episode number 1 is Did You Hear About the Morgans, starring Sarah Jessica Parker and Hugh Grant. First of all, Sarah Jessica Parker looks like a walking corpse. She can't act, and every single thing she's in that I've ever seen has been terrible. Sex and the City movie, Sex and the City TV show. I'm sure I've seen her in other things, but basically those two things are what she's known for. Now, Hugh Grant, I don't really have a problem with too much. I mean, every role he plays that English guy, and he's like the out of place in America and blah, blah, blah. And it looks like this movie's something like that. Also, of course, the standard, he's an English guy, she's like a New York kind of chick, and then they have to go out into the country for whatever stupid reason. I think it's a witness protection program in this movie. But it's like a fish out of water, and it's like almost every single romantic comedy does this now. It's super predictable and ridiculous. On Rotten Tomatoes, which is my favorite movie review website, this movie has a 9% rating currently. Now, it's actually really, really hard to get a rating that low. I mean, you really got to work day and night to make a movie that terrible. Because if you look at most films, you know, I would say they average around, if they're good, 60% range and above. If they're bad, usually it's around 50 or lower. Sometimes if it's like a deep kind of movie or the critics just don't get it or whatever, you won't get a good rating, but that doesn't mean it's bad. But usually if a movie's below 10%, you know it's a pile of garbage, shit and garbage. If you look at the main page of the reviews here, every single review, every single one on this main page is rotten. That means that their rating is below 60%. Now, look at this. See all the green splotches? That means that, well, they think the movie's garbage. Well, if everyone thinks the movie's garbage, why the hell would I want to see it? Let's examine the humor in this movie. Now, all I can do is go by the trailer, but you'll see what I mean. Let's take a look at this first clip.
Can you tell us where we're going?
Ray, Wyoming.
Is that anywhere near Phil, Wyoming?
Wow, what a great joke. Hilarious. And let's take a gander at some more brilliant writing.
You right, Pa?
Yes, I had some lessons when I was a child.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, well, I don't tell you everything. So.
Yeah, I knew that.
If you listen closely, they actually added the crickets in. You know, that audience cricket sound? They added it into their own joke because they knew it was so terrible. Listen back to it, you'll see. And here's the last example.
Think of it as a vacation, a welcome break in your hectic lifestyle.
I'm not on my horse!
I'm not on my horse. Wow. Wow. Well, that was the first episode. I hope you liked it. This is Troy from Tommy Gun the Baby saying, stay tuned for the next one and kill yourself.